the headlines of this hour on VTV News. National Assembly discusses draft amended law on social insurance. Later on, E-INVOICES expected to ensure transparent gold market. In our world news, China, Japan and South Korea holds a trilateral summit.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lin Lei with the latest updates. Now, continuing the 7th session on Monday, the National Assembly debated the draft amended law on social insurance. Take a look.
Some deputies propose another option regarding the provision of one-time social insurance withdrawal. Under this option, employees who have been participating in social insurance before the law comes into effect and who are ineligible for compulsory social insurance after 12 months opt out of voluntary social insurance and have contributed to social insurance for less than 20 years will be entitled to a one-time social insurance withdrawal if requested.
I recommend choosing this option because this limits a societal disruption and inherits existing regulations. This option also helps prevent some social insurance participants from receiving a one-time payment multiple times.
Most workers who participate in voluntary social insurance encounter financial difficulties. Therefore, they need money to solve their problems immediately. To limit lump sum withdrawals, more provisions in the voluntary social insurance policy must be supplemented so that participants can feel more assured.
Proposals regarding expanding the number of social insurance participants also garner much attention.
The Law Drafting Committee also needs to include workers with irregular hours as participants in social insurance, such as platform workers. According to Article 13 of the Labor Law, these individuals are still classified as laborers since they enter into contracts with enterprises and receive compensation based on their productivity.
Some deputies believe it's necessary to consider expanding the number of subjects participating in mandatory social insurance.
The law drafting agency must collect opinions from subjects affected by the draft law. The priority should be more than just increasing social insurance payers, but rather addressing the needs of all the participants involved.
The National Assembly will continue the plenary session on the revised draft law on social insurance on Monday afternoon.
The National Assembly will spend the whole day listening to a report on revising the draft law on social insurance and debating the draft law on social insurance amended. In particular, the draft law proposes a number of regulations beneficial to workers, such as shortening the time to pay social insurance to receive pensions, increasing benefits for voluntary social insurance participants, and increasing the number of people with pensions in old age.
Chang intended to receive a one-time social insurance payment after quitting her job. However, when social insurance officials began reviewing the voluntary social insurance policy, she continued her policy to ensure she had accumulated sufficient years to enjoy a retirement pension.
I continue with social insurance to have the full years of social insurance payments to enjoy a pension and medical insurance, which is essential when I get old.
However, many workers do not realize the value of pensions, thinking that he would not receive a one-time allowance of that. If he did, the amount would decrease. When the amended social insurance law took effect, Chen Văn-hùng proactively resigned himself to receiving one-time social insurance payment.
I have personal reason to withdraw my social insurance payment. If I work for another company in the future, I will start paying them again.
The fear that changing policies will affect their rights causes many workers to make hasty decisions. However, in only about 20 years, when the working age ends, The lives of millions of workers at the age of 60 will be very difficult without pensions and health insurance. With the current rate of population aging, pensions are an effective tool to implement social security, and countries around the world do not have regulations on one-time withdrawal of social insurance.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade is set to coordinate with ministries and sectors to step up negotiations and sign new free trade agreements, or FTAs. During the first 4 months of 2024, Vietnam's foreign trade approximated $239 billion, a 15.1% year-on-year. It comprises $124 billion in exports and $115 billion in imports, each increasing by 15.1%, resulting in a trade surplus of $9 billion. The Ministry of Industry and Trade's Foreign Trade Agency reported. In the current context, foreign trade faces numerous difficulties due to the impacts of complex developments around the world and regionally, along with high inflation. The Ministry of Industry and Trade is adopting various measures for fostering exports, including removing difficulties and assisting enterprises using FTAs, the Foreign Trade Agency added. May recorded the biggest increase in foreign direct investment capital since the beginning of the year, with figures nearly triple compared to April. Overall, from the beginning of the year to May the 20th, the accumulation of newly registered, adjusted, contributed capital and shares purchased by foreign investors have reached over $11 billion, up 2% compared to the same period last year. The disbursement speed also increased by 7.8% over the same period last year, reaching about $8.25 billion. Foreign investors have invested in 17 out of 21 national economic sectors. The processing and manufacturing industry leads with a total investment capital of 67%, followed by the real estate business, wholesale and retail industry, and warehouse and transportation. In the first 5 months of the year, 78 countries and territories invested in Vietnam. Singapore is in the lead, followed by Hong Kong, China, Japan, and China. Amidst recent volatility in the domestic gold market, the Prime Minister's directive to the State Bank, SBV, and relevant ministries and departments is of significant importance. The directive aimed at managing and stabilizing the domestic market includes a crucial measure implementing electronic invoices for every gold transaction to be completed before June the 15th.
It regularly takes customers a few minutes to complete the transaction and receive a printed copy of the electronic invoice like this. According to the General Director of the SJC, the conversion to electronic invoices connected to tax authorities has been implemented throughout the company system for more than a year now.
After gold businesses were ordered to use e-invoices, the tax authorities started to work with JSC. Our company utilizes e-invoices for every gold transaction.
Starting on June 15th, e-invoices for gold transactions are expected to improve transparency in the gold market.
When generating e-invoices, each business must bear responsibility for the source and quality of goods, thereby protecting the interests of consumers.
This move boosts the economy's transparency and helps tax authorities and state agencies manage gold transactions effectively, thereby sketching out macro policies. Furthermore, this endeavor will help tax authorities manage and collect taxes better, preventing tax evasion and inequality.
According to the General Department of Taxation, Vietnam has more than 5,800 gold and silver businesses utilizing electronic invoices. However, these businesses are mainly concentrated in large cities and provinces. Experts believe it's necessary to put forward a feasible roadmap and incentives to accelerate the generation of e-invoices in gold business establishments in remote areas and other localities.
To ensure national food security and promote sustainable rice production and exports, the Ministry of Industry and Trade proposed an amendment to the government's decree on rice exports. As for supporting rice exports, the ministry will conduct trade promotions for Vietnamese rice products and brands and carry out marketing to effectively exploit the advantages of FTAs, thus diversifying markets for Vietnam's rice industry. To ensure domestic supply and demand, the ministry will continue to closely monitor the market and develop a plan to ensure supplies, stabilize rice prices, and ensure national food security. The ministry also asked for increased supervision at the local level on the circulation and consumption of rice to strictly manage speculation and illegal profiteering. It is forecast that in the remainder of this year, Vietnam's rice exports will continue to grow. However, experts recommend that businesses still need to observe and evaluate the import demand of Vietnam's major markets due to global instabilities. The Vietnam Pepper Association believes the pepper market is entering a new price hike cycle, making up for the low price era of 2019 and 2020. However, the association also recommends farmers refrain from extensively expanding pepper growing areas and focus on sustainable growing methods. That is also a solution to meet strict quality requirements from demanding markets such as the US and Europe.
Dak Song District is the largest pepper production area in Đắk Nông Province. As cooperatives have continuously been established in the past few years, many farmers have switched to organic pepper farming that meets VietGAP and Global GAP standards. As a result, this endeavor helps improve the quality and prices of the products.
We do not use chemical fertilizers in an organic pepper growing process. We only use biological fertilizers, so the production investment cost will be lower.
After harvesting, we negotiate prices with our partners and sign contracts with buyers who propose the highest.
In recent years, pepper-growing households in Central Highlands have enhanced their investment and technological applications in the harvesting process. In particular, many households have proactively utilized post-harvesting processing machinery to achieve quality that meets both domestic and foreign importers' requirements.
Apart from irrigating and fertilizing, we can be confident that many stages of the growing process are completely automated. Currently, we are delving deeper into mechanical harvesting.
We have focused on developing quantity, cultivated areas, and harvest output for many years. However, we see the world return to sustainable and nature-friendly consumption. That's why demanding markets have introduced stringent regulations on sustainable production.
Vietnamese pepper has exported to 115 countries and territories. Vietnam continues to be the world leader in pepper production and export, accounting for over 40% of the global output and over 60% of the world's market share.
Since the beginning of the lychee season, nearly 6,200 tons of fresh lychees have been exported through Kim Thanh International Road Border Gate No. 2, valued at over $3.4 million. That is according to the Laogai Border Gate Customs authorities. On average, about 50 to 60 trucks carrying fresh lychees are cleared through the Laogai Border Gate daily, which is double the number compared to last week. These lychees mainly come from provinces such as Bắc Giang, Hưng Yên, and Hải Dương. Lychees are among the fruits given export priority during customs procedures so that they can be exported and quarantined in a separate channel. Authorities at the border gate started work an hour earlier and arranged additional staffing to support customs clearance. Before we move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News. Strengthen prevention and combating of smuggling. And later on, new cave system discovered in Quảng Trị province. Now moving on to other important updates, smuggling in the southwest frontier of Vietnam is increasing and becoming more complex, most notable in the illegal transportation of foreign currency, cigarettes, drugs, and firecrackers from Cambodia into bordering provinces such as Long An, Tây Ninh, An Giang, Đồng Tháp. Taking advantage of the rainy season and challenging terrain, many smugglers have operated with increasing sophistication.
With a 100-kilometer border with Cambodia, An Giang is always a hotspot targeted by smugglers. From small rivers like this, subjects will quickly bring smuggled goods into Vietnam if there are no functional forces on duty. The subjects split the goods to bypass the authorities and avoid criminal prosecution. Since the beginning of the year, An Giang authorities have detected, prevented, and handled more than 77 smuggling cases and arrested 80 subjects. And drug smuggling is still on the rise.
When a subject is caught, we'll try to pursue and expand the investigation to capture the leaders involved in the smuggling.
We must promote the role of locals in identifying smuggling and preventing or limiting the illegal transportation of goods across the border.
The functional services continue to promote information and law dissemination. The goal is to help people in border areas understand that smuggling is a violation that can be punished with imprisonment or death. Therefore, locals must not participate or assist in any way.
The Politburo has issued conclusion number 80 on the planning of Hanoi in the 2021 to 2030 period, with a vision to 2050 and a project to adjust the master plan for Hanoi capital to 2045 and a vision to 2065. One of the main planks is turning Hanoi into a safe destination with an attractive nighttime economy. This will affirm Hanoi's competitiveness compared to other regional and international destinations. The Politburo asked the city to allocate suitable spaces for developing cultural and entertainment industry, turning tourism into a spearhead economic sector with priority given to preserving, exploiting, and promoting major cultural assets. At the same time, it is also necessary to construct a modern and symbolic cultural environment representing the city in the new era. The Politburo also highlights the importance of the harmonious distribution of ecological, cultural, historical, green, and modern urban spaces to create a new look for the time-honored and modern capital. A group of adventurous tourists has just discovered a new cave. It has been named Vân Tiên and is situated in the western region of Quảng Trị province. The cave entrance is located in a rocky mountain range near Cát Chìa village, Hướng Sơn commune, Hướng Hóa district. The cave is about 10 meters high with many magnificent and brightly colored stalactites. This cave also has a long, winding underground river system that is a habitat for wildlife such as eels and catfish. Currently, only 1 kilometer of Vân Tiên Cave has been fully explored. Shortly, Quảng Trị province will invite explorers to explore the cave to develop a full tourism plan. When discussing Con Đảo, many often think of the historic Con Đảo Prison National Relic Site. However, the island also boasts rich forest and marine biodiversity. When exploring the pristine nature of Con Đảo sea and forest, one should not miss the Bảy Cánh Islet, an outcrop considered a symphony of mountain, forests, seas, and rich ecosystems.
Bảy Cánh Islet is covered with tropical rainforest ecosystems, mangrove forests, seagrass beds, and coral reefs. At night, visitors can explore the life of the tank crab, the largest land crab in Vietnam, with a shell measuring up to 10 centimeters long. Along with that is the experience of watching sea turtles lay eggs and releasing baby turtles into the sea.
Even though we had to go on a very long and challenging road, it was a meaningful activity. I felt so satisfied and fulfilled for our trip. It was so wonderful.
About 400 female turtles arrive on Bảy Cánh Islet's beaches from April to November to lay their eggs. Con Đảo National Park assists with artificial hatching where necessary and releases over 115,000 baby turtles into the sea.
The number of sea turtles giving birth here is the highest in Vietnam. Gondal's turtle grounds account for about 80%. We must also inform and encourage tourists to follow the regulations. This helps to ensure that conservation and tourism are harmonious and do not cause ecological imbalance or conservation issues.
Visiting Bai Cang Island will give tourists unforgettable experiences of a pristine, peaceful, clean, and beautiful island, an area preserved almost intact thanks to the synchronous planning in ecotourism development and natural resource conservation.
Coming up next in our world news. China, Japan, and South Korea holds trilateral summit. And later on, climate change adds to flight turbulence. Now moving on to our world news, the trilateral summit between South Korea, Japan, and China occurred today, May the 27th. After 4 years, this is the first summit between the three countries aimed at resuming security and trade dialogues hindered by global tensions. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and Chinese Premier Li Qiang have called for increased cooperation between the three Asian neighbors. Premier Li Qiang affirmed that this conference marked a new beginning and called on countries to promote multilateralism and fight against trade protectionism. In a joint press conference, the South Korean president called on the international community to react strongly to North Korea's plan to launch a spy satellite for 8 days from May the 27th until midnight of June the 3rd. The Japanese Prime Minister also asked Pyongyang to cancel this plan. For his part, the Chinese premier asked all parties to play a constructive role in promoting a political solution to the North Korean issue and maintaining peace and stability on the peninsula. Climate change is one of the causes of increased turbulence on flights. According to U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, the impacts of climate change are already affecting the American transportation sector, and turbulence will continue to affect travelers both at home and abroad. Pete Buttigieg also mentioned that heat waves threaten to melt transportation system cables in the Pacific Northwest and will lead to increasingly severe storms that increase flight turbulence by about 15%. Previously, a study published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters showed that clear air turbulence, or CAT, increased from 1979 to 2020, with turbulence increasing by 55% over the North Atlantic. Oil prices stabilized in Asia on Monday morning, May the 27th, after falling sharply over the past week. The market is looking ahead to the upcoming meeting of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allied Countries, or OPEC+, on June the 2nd, and the U.S. oil demand when the summer tourist season begins. Specifically, North Sea Brent oil prices stood above $82 per barrel after falling 2.2% the previous week and hitting their lowest level since early February. Meanwhile, the price of U.S. light sweet crude oil, WTI, is trading near $78 per barrel. According to the plan, OPEC Plus will hold an online policy meeting on June the 2nd and is forecasted to maintain production cuts into the second half of 2024. Brent oil prices are still up about 7% this year due to lingering geopolitical risks and OPEC Plus production cuts of 2 million barrels per day. After 11 days of competition, the jury of the 77th Cannes Film Festival announced the winning works at the awards ceremony on Saturday local time. With Anora snatching the festival's top prize, the Palme d'Or, Cannes 2024 seems to have less of a glamorous party feel and more of a film festival with higher artistic value.
The Palme d'Or goes to
Though brief, the 2024 Cannes Film Festival Awards ceremony was no less emotional. This year's event was highly valued for the quality and diversity of the work and the participation of many big names. Unsurprisingly, the movie Anora won the Cannes Film Festival's top prize, the Golden Palm. This is a film by American director Sean Baker about the lives of the people in the lower classes of American society, with the director's usual humorous styles.
Right now, as filmmakers, we have to fight to keep cinema alive. This means making feature films intended for theatrical exhibition.
The Grand Prix, the second highest prize after the Golden Palm, was awarded to All We Imagine as Light, the first Indian film in the competition in 30 years, about two women sharing an apartment and the challenges they face in a male-dominant society.
For me, friendship is a very important relationship because it can lead to greater solidarity and inclusivity and empathy towards each other. So, which is why these are the values that I feel that we should all be striving for.
Cannes 2024 drew a close with many works worthy of public participation. A Golden Palm creates a special effect in the film world because of its creativity and exploration of cinematic language, contributing to the film's industry's development.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast for Vietnam and other locations in the world. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our website or YouTube channel or download mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.